Merry Christmas, Jenna. A hush fell over the table. Even Mallory gasped. Blake leaned back, smug. Guess I win the bet. I looked up slowly. Bet? He grinned. Yeah, I told him you'd cry. He said you'd throw wine in his face. Guess we were both wrong. The laughter that followed felt like glass shattering in my chest. Carter didn't meet my eyes. It's not personal, Jenna. We've grown apart. It's better this way. Not personal? After 8 years of marriage, a shared home, plans, dreams? Not personal? I could have screamed, thrown the table over, made a scene. But instead, I smiled. Well, I said softly, I suppose congratulations are in order. Carter frowned. What? For winning your bet, I said, folding the papers neatly and setting them aside. And since you like surprises so much, I reached under the table and pulled out a small silver box tied with a satin bow. I got you one, too. The table murmured with awkward laughter, unsure if I was joking. I wasn't. Carter hesitated. Jenna, this isn't— Go on, I said sweetly. Open it. His hand hovered over the ribbon. Blake chuckled. What's in there? Your wedding ring? I smiled wider. Something better. They tore off the wrapping together, laughing like frat boys about to open a prank gift. When Carter lifted the lid, his face changed. All the color drained out. Blake leaned in, frowned, and whispered, What the hell? Everyone waited. The silence was thick, uneasy, but I didn't explain. I just lifted my glass of champagne and said, To new beginnings. And for the first time that night, Carter looked scared. The rest of the evening was chaos wrapped in glitter. His mother tried to smooth things over, whispering apologies while glaring daggers at her son. Blake disappeared to the bar, probably to hide from the awkwardness he helped create. Carter cornered me near the grand staircase, his voice low and sharp. What the hell was in that box, Jenna? I smiled. Something you'll wish you never saw. He grabbed my arm, fingers digging into my skin. You think this is a game? Don't you? I shot back. We locked eyes, the kind of stare that carries years of love turned poison. Whatever you think you're doing, don't. You can't win. I leaned closer, whispering against his ear. Carter, darling, I already have. I slipped away before midnight, left the estate without a word, my heels clicking on marble like gunfire. Outside, the snow fell soft and soundless, muffling the chaos I'd left behind. I drove back to the city in silence, the car filled with nothing but the hum of the heater and my own heartbeat. My reflection in the rearview mirror didn't look like me anymore. I didn't look like the woman Carter Lamora had married. I looked like the woman who was about to end him. By the next morning, the news had already spread through the Lamora social circle. Carter had served me papers at Christmas dinner. The gossip burned fast. She didn't see it coming. He must have had someone else. Poor Jenna. Poor Jenna. That phrase made me laugh out loud, because what they didn't know was that I'd seen it coming months ago, that I'd been planning for this moment with the precision of a surgeon. Every document, every password, every account, I had it all. Carter thought I'd crumble. Instead, I'd built a safety net so wide it could catch the fall of an empire. And as for that silver box, let's just say what was inside wasn't a gift. It was evidence. Evidence Carter and Blake would never recover from. Because when the party ended and the gossip started, I realized something darker. The bet between Carter and Blake wasn't just a joke. It was part of something bigger, something dangerous. And the truth behind it would make their betrayal look like child's play. The morning after Christmas, the city felt hungover. Gray skies, frozen streets, the kind of silence that hums before bad news breaks. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Texts from mutual friends, Carter's mother calling to talk, gossip blogs spinning the story like I was some fragile socialite blindsided by heartbreak. But they didn't know me. Not the real me. Not the Jenna who had spent the last 6 months watching her husband unravel his own empire, piece by piece. Too arrogant to notice I was already sweeping up the pieces. I brewed coffee, turned off my phone, and opened my laptop. The encrypted folder blinked on my desktop. Lumora. Internal. Black files. It was time. The silver box I'd handed Carter wasn't just a symbol. Inside was a single USB drive, black, sleep, engraved with our initials, and a note in my handwriting. You should have read the fine print. That drive contained everything. Screenshots, recordings, financial transfers, proof of offshore accounts hidden under Blake's shell companies, bribes disguised as charity donations, insider trades dressed as strategic investments. I hadn't needed to hack anything. Carter trusted me with access years ago. His passwords, his devices, his secrets. Because I'd been the one who built his perfect digital infrastructure in the first place. He called me his lucky charm, his anchor. Turns out, I was his undoing. The day before the dinner, I duplicated every file, time-stamped, encrypted, and sent copies to my lawyer and an anonymous journalist who owed me a favor. I'd been calm while wrapping that silver box because I knew what came next. And Carter? He had no idea. But Blake was about to figure it out the hard way. 3 days later, he showed up at my apartment. I heard the knock before I saw him. Sharp, impatient, cocky, just like him. I opened the door wearing a silk robe and a colder expression. "Well," I said, "if it isn't Mr. Predictable." He smirked, trying to act casual, but I saw it in his eyes. Panic dressed as charm. "We need to talk," he said, brushing past me without invitation. "Coffee?" I asked. "Whiskey." "It's 10 a.m. "Exactly." He dropped into one of my armchairs, elbows on his knees. "Carter's losing it. You did something, didn't you?" I leaned against the counter. "Define something." "Don't play dumb, Jenna. He said you gave him something at dinner. He won't tell me what it was, but ever since then he's been in meltdown mode. He's paranoid, checking every account, every transfer." "He should be. You two made quite the mess." Blake's laugh was bitter. "So that's it? You're playing the scorned wife?"
I smiled. "Blake, I'm not playing. You are." He frowned. "What's that supposed to mean?" I walked over, dropped a folder onto the coffee table, and opened it. Inside were printed screenshots, Blake's personal transfers, his offshore account under a fake charity name, a signed document linking him to an illegal trade deal. His name, his signature, his timestamp. His face went pale. How did you left your email open at our beach house," I said softly. "For a man so smart, you really should have learned to log out." He shot to his feet. "You can't prove anything. I don't have to. The feds will." The silence between us cracked like ice. Then, quietly, he said, "You wouldn't." "I would," I said. "You and Carter made a bet that I'd cry, that I'd be predictable, that I'd break. So I made one too, that I'd destroy you both without raising my voice." His jaw clenched. "You're bluffing." I leaned closer, lowering my voice. "Try me." He stormed out, slamming the door so hard the glass trembled. I didn't chase him. I didn't need to, because the minute he touched that door handle, I sent the first encrypted file to my contact at the Herald. Subject line, "Lumora Investment Leak, Blake Warren Connection." By the time the story broke, Blake was already in freefall. That was the thing about powerful men. They never believed a woman could outplay them until it was too late. Carter called that night. His voice was hoarse, desperate. "Jenna, we need to talk." I sipped my wine. "Now you want to talk?" "Please," he said. "It's bad, really bad. Blake's accounts are being audited. They're saying someone leaked confidential data. And what?" I asked. "You think it was me?" Silence. "Then, was it?" I let the question hang. You know what the difference is between you and me, Carter? I said finally. You use people's trust as leverage. I use it as evidence. He groaned, running a hand through his hair. You don't get it, Jenna. They'll come after me next. Then maybe you shouldn't have married your liability. God damn it, he shouted. You're going to ruin us. No, I said softly. You already did. I hung up. Then I cried, not out of sadness, but release. Because for the first time in years, I wasn't pretending. I wasn't the pretty wife in the designer dress or the accessory to his success. I was free. But freedom came with weight, with blood, with guilt that lingered, even when you know they deserved it. The next morning, I woke to the sound of sirens outside my window. News anchors were reporting major corruption allegations involving Lumora Investments and its partners. Blake's photo plastered every feed. Carter's name wasn't mentioned yet.
But it would be. I made breakfast. Toast, eggs, black coffee. I ate slowly, savoring every bite. My lawyer called mid-meal. "It's working," she said. "The press has it. If you want to push the rest, now's the time." I hesitated. "No, let it burn naturally." "You sure? You could finish this today." "I don't want to finish it," I said. "I want them to finish each other." Because that's what the bet really was. Not a joke, but a game of control. Blake and Carter had been manipulating markets, investors, even each other for years, playing power games that spilled into personal lives. Their bet about me was just an extension of that, a casual cruelty between men who thought they owned the board. But they'd forgotten. Queens moved differently. 2 weeks later, Carter reached out again. "Please," he said over voicemail, "meet me one last time." Against my better judgment, I did. Curiosity is dangerous, but closure is seductive. We met at a rooftop bar downtown, the same one where we'd had our first date years ago. The city glowed below us, cold and endless. He looked like hell. Unshaven, hollow-eyed, wearing the same designer coat, but none of the confidence. "You look different," he said quietly. "Free?" I offered. "Angry," he said. I laughed. "Takes one to know one." He sighed, rubbing his temples. "Blake's turning on me. He says I set him up." "Did you?" "No, but someone did. He's got proof. Or he says he does." "Then you should have been more careful who you trusted." "You mean you?" His voice cracked. "You were supposed to be my partner." I stared at him. I was, until you made me a pawn. His eyes softened, almost pleading. "I didn't mean for it to happen like that." "But it did. And now you're scared. That's what this is. Not guilt, not love, fear." He didn't deny it. "You can stop this, Jenna. Whatever you started, you can end it." "And why would I?" He stepped closer, desperation bleeding through the charm. "Because if you don't, we both go down." I tilted my head. "Then we'll go together." For a moment, he looked at me like he still loved me, or maybe he just missed control. "You've changed," he whispered. "No, you just finally see me clearly." I turned to leave, but he grabbed my hand. "Jenna," he said, "what was in that box?" I looked over my shoulder. A mirror. "What?" "It shows people who they really are." I walked away before he could answer. That night, the headlines doubled. Federal investigation, frozen accounts, whistleblower claims. The Lumora name, once dripping in gold, now reeking of scandal. I didn't sleep. I sat by the window, watching snow fall over the city like ash. I should have felt victorious. Instead, I felt hollow. Not because I regretted it, but because it was almost over. Revenge isn't a fire that warms you. It burns until there's nothing left but smoke and silence. But I wasn't done yet. Carter still had one card left to play, and I knew he'd use it, because men like him don't know how to lose. They only know how to destroy. And when he finally tried to take me down with him, that's when I'd make sure he never got back up. because the game wasn't over. It was just about to get personal. The empire was crumbling, but Carter wasn't finished, and neither was I. Because sometimes the most dangerous thing about revenge is surviving it.
By the time I reached the Lumora estate again, the snow had turned the world into a painting. White, still, suffocating. The kind of quiet that comes before something breaks. I hadn't planned to come back so soon, but the message I got that morning changed everything. It was from Mallory, Carter's sister. Just one line. "You were right." And an attachment. One that made my heart pound harder than it had the night of the dinner. A recording. Blake's voice, slurred from whiskey, bragging to someone about the bet. She was never supposed to find out. Carter's old man needed her name on the merger contracts, then we'd let her go. The divorce was just part of the deal. I played it 3 times, every word carving deeper into my chest. So it wasn't just betrayal. It was business. I wasn't just the wife they mocked. I was the pawn that made their empire legal. The Lumora fortune had strings I didn't even know I was holding. Until I realized I was the one who could cut them. I walked back into that mansion like a ghost. Staff froze when they saw me. Whispers followed me through the marble halls. I could almost hear them thinking, "She's back." Yes, I was. And this time, I wasn't leaving empty-handed. The gold room looked exactly as it had that night. Crystal glasses still stacked, laughter long gone, ghosts of our perfect dinner lingering in the air. Carter was in his study, of course, the heart of his control. He looked up when I entered, eyes cold, jaw set. "You shouldn't be here," he said flatly, "and yet here I am." He set down his pen. "If this is about the divorce, it's about the bet." His face twitched, just enough to confirm it. I dropped my phone on his desk and pressed play. Blake's voice filled the room, echoing off the polished wood and old money silence. She was never supposed to find out. When it ended, Carter's hand clenched so tight, his knuckles turned white. "You don't understand." "Oh, I understand perfectly," I cut in. "You used me. You signed my name to secure that Lumora-Wexler merger, didn't you? The one you couldn't legally complete without a spousal consent form. You thought you were untouchable." I leaned closer, my voice steady but sharp. "You forgot I read every line before I signed."
Carter's eyes flickered, realizing too late. "You wouldn't already did." I smiled thinly. "The board received my statement this morning. The merger's frozen. All assets tied to fraudulent consent are under review." His jaw dropped. For the first time since I'd met him, Carter Lumora looked small. "You destroyed everything," he whispered. "No," I said quietly. "You did." He slammed his fist on the desk, standing. "You think this makes you win? You're just bitter because you lost me." I laughed, a sound that didn't even sound like me anymore. "Carter, I didn't lose you. I found out what you really were." I turned to leave, but his voice stopped me. "You'll regret this, Jenna. You have no idea who you're dealing with." I looked over my shoulder, meeting his glare with a calm that terrified even me. "Neither do you." I left him standing there, but I knew it wasn't over. Men like Carter didn't fall quietly. That night, I booked a suite downtown, one overlooking the city skyline that used to look like freedom. My phone didn't stop buzzing. Messages, calls, news alerts. The Lumora merger had officially been suspended. Stocks plummeted. Reporters swarmed the estate. And then, at 2:13 a.m., a message from an unknown number. "Meet me. Midnight tomorrow. Penthouse bar. Come alone. B." Blake. I almost deleted it, but something inside me, anger, curiosity, maybe both, wouldn't let me. When I arrived, the penthouse was half empty, snow still clinging to the windows. Blake was there, lounging with his usual arrogance, but his eyes were red-rimmed, panicked. "You ruined us," he said without preamble. "You think I care?" I replied. "You should, because Carter's blaming me. He said I leaked the bet, that I turned you against him.
He's cleaning house, Jenna. If he finds out Mallory helped you, he didn't finish. I took a slow sip of champagne. Then you better pray he doesn't. Blake leaned forward, lowering his voice. You think he'll stop at threats? Carter's desperate. He's dangerous. And you're scared, I said softly. He gave a bitter laugh. Of course I am. You know what his father will do if this deal dies? We're all screwed. For a second, I almost pitied him. Then I remembered his voice on that recording. The laughter, the cruelty. You should have thought of that before you made me a joke, I said coldly.
He stared at me. What are you planning, Jenna? Nothing, I lied. I'm just watching Karma do her job. I stood, leaving the untouched glass behind. As I walked toward the elevator, he called after me. You think you're in control, but you're not. He's already making his next move. The doors closed before I could answer, but I could feel it. The air was shifting. The next morning, the headlines were brutal. Lamora Holdings under investigation. Insider trading allegations. Missing funds discovered in offshore accounts. My phone rang again. Mallory. Jenna, he's losing it, she whispered. He's blaming everyone. He said you're going to pay. Let him try, I said. But my hand was shaking, because for the first time, I wasn't sure what Carter was capable of. That night, I returned to my apartment, only to find the door slightly open. My pulse spiked. Inside, everything looked untouched until I saw the photo frame on the counter, our wedding picture. Shattered. And a note taped to the mirror. You wanted war. Merry Christmas, darling. The fear came in waves, but underneath it was fire. I called Mallory again, but no answer. Then I texted her. Stay somewhere safe. Don't trust anyone. I packed a small bag, every move mechanical. Laptop, documents, flash drive. The one with everything I'd gathered on the Lamora's dirty deals. That was my weapon now. But as I turned to leave, my phone buzzed again. An email from an anonymous sender. Subject, you forgot something. Attached was a single image. Me standing outside Blake's penthouse last night. Someone had been watching. That was when I knew it. This wasn't just revenge anymore. It was survival. Over the next few days, chaos consumed the Lamoras. Carter's father tried to distance himself, blaming rogue management. Blake went underground, Mallory vanished completely. And me? I became the ghost in their machine. Every leak, every document, every scandal traced back to the woman they thought would break. I didn't. I burned quietly, methodically. By the end of the week, the Lamora name was poison. Carter called me once. Just once. You destroyed my family, he said, voice trembling. No, I said softly. I just unwrapped the truth. Then I hung up. The snow kept falling. The estate grew quieter. Rumors said Carter left the country. Others said he didn't. I didn't care anymore. I stood on my balcony one night, watching the city lights blur into stars, and for the first time, I felt free. Not happy, not healed, just free. But deep down, I knew the story wasn't finished, because men like Carter don't vanish. They regroup. They wait. And if I've learned anything, it's that the most dangerous silence comes right before the storm.
It's funny how silence can sound louder than a scream. 6 months later, the Lamora estate was up for sale. The marble floors that once echoed with laughter now sat under dust and headlines. Lamora Holdings under federal investigation. Carter tried to call, of course. Then text. Then beg. But I had already changed my number. He was living in a rental downtown, trading in cufflinks for court dates. Blake? He wasn't much better. His investment empire turned out to be built on falsified reports. Reports I'd quietly turned over to the feds. The same reports they found copies of in that silver box the night of the dinner. He'd laughed when I handed it to them. He wasn't laughing when the handcuffs clicked. And me? I rebuilt. Not loud, not public. Quiet power. I bought a townhouse in Manhattan overlooking the park. No gold trim, no family crest, just peace. I started consulting again, helping women untangle themselves from the kind of men who think predictable means powerless. Sometimes I still get invitations from the old crowd, charity galas, art auctions, all the people who used to whisper, "Poor Jenna." I don't attend. I don't need to. My absence says more than my presence ever could. But last week, I got one I couldn't resist. A Christmas charity event at the newly reopened Lamora estate. Carter would be there. I didn't plan to go, but then I remembered what he said that night. You can't win. So I went. He didn't see me at first. He looked smaller somehow, older, tired. When our eyes met across the room, he froze. I lifted my champagne glass, the same way I had the night everything ended, and smiled. He dropped his drink, and in that moment, I realized it wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about closure, about finally reclaiming the power I'd handed over years ago. Because they said I'd cry, but in the end, I didn't cry. I laughed. The real victory isn't revenge. It's freedom. And nothing looks better on a woman than peace after the storm.